Freedom of the mind begins where illusions of desire end. Marcus Aurelius. Underneath all your ambitions, goals, and attempts to get your life together, there's something else. A fire, burning silently, pulling your mind in one direction, again and again. It doesn't ask for permission. It just shows up. A face, a body, a thought. You don't even know when it starts. But suddenly, you're not here. You're somewhere else, inside the fantasy. Dopamine already hijacked the wheel. Your consciousness isn't yours anymore. You're scrolling, hunting, craving for what exactly, you're not even sure. This is not about sex. This is not about attraction. This is a psychological war, a quiet one, invisible but devastating. Let's talk honestly. Every second, over 60,000 people are watching porn. In a day, that's over 190 million. The porn industry makes tens of billions a year. Dating apps, hundreds of millions of users, millions of people selling themselves, legally or not, across the world. Sex sells because it owns the human nervous system. You've been told it's normal, that it's natural, that you should just embrace it. But no one told you what it's doing to your brain. You can't focus. You can't build. You can't stay in the moment. You want more, always more. But every time you get it, it's never enough. That's not pleasure. That's dependency. And the cost is higher than anyone admits. Because it's not just about what you do on the screen. It's about what you're no longer able to feel in reality. You stop seeing people. You start seeing objects. You stop caring about connection. You start chasing validation. Your mind gets trained to expect instant gratification, on demand. Your motivation drops. Your creativity dies. Your emotional system is numb. All because the same part of your brain that should fuel your life is being drained by endless loops of fantasy. Nobody tells you this. The more you chase sex online, the less alive you feel offline. People think porn is harmless. Let me show you what it's destroying. Relationships. You lose the ability to be present, to feel real desire, to be touched and actually feel something. Your expectations become distorted. You compare every person to a curated illusion. You become impatient, unavailable. You start needing more stimulation just to feel anything. And when you don't get it, the emptiness feels unbearable. This is not a moral conversation. This is psychological damage. You don't need to be an addict to feel the effects. You just need to live in this system. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because as long as your mind is hijacked by sexual obsession, you will never reach your potential. You can try, you can push, you can grind, but something will always pull you back. The same thought, the same urge, the same inner split. You're fighting two battles, the external one and the internal one no one sees. And here's the truth. This invisible war is killing your energy. Not just physical energy, life energy, drive, focus, hunger. It's all being leaked day after day through pixels and impulses. And you already know this. You feel it. The guilt, the low, the empty victory after the dopamine hit, the shame, the regret, the same cycle, again and again. And you've probably tried to quit, or cut back, or control it. But control doesn't work when your nervous system is wired for chaos. You don't need willpower, you need awareness. You don't need to repress anything, but you do need to understand what this is doing to you. And if these words hurt, good. That pain means you're still alive. If these words find you where it aches, subscribe to the channel. More people need to hear the truth that no one else is willing to say. And don't forget to join the Telegram. It goes even deeper. Send this video to someone you care about, someone who's drowning silently. And if this spoke to you, write in the comments, "I'm done running from the pain." Let's see how many of us are ready for the truth. You think you're choosing, but you're not. Most of what you call desire is just programming, invisible, automatic, installed in you without your permission. And nothing installs deeper than sex. That's why they use it. That's why every ad, every app, every algorithm is laced with it. It's not an accident. It's design. Your nervous system is being shaped every time you scroll, every time you click, every time you escape into that private little world where you can be king for a moment and then feel like garbage right after. Because that's how it's built, to keep you hooked, to keep you hollow. Porn doesn't just steal your time, it rewires your brain, literally. Studies show it floods your system with dopamine, way more than real sex ever could. But here's the trick, your receptors get used to it. So next time, you need more, and more and more, until nothing feels like enough. Even real life, even real touch, real connection, they start to feel boring. Because your brain now speaks in superstimuli, not reality. This is not theory. This is neuroscience. But the damage goes deeper. Porn and sexual overexposure don't just change your habits, they change your identity. Quietly, you start thinking in sexual frames. You scan people instead of seeing them. You walk into a room and assess bodies, not souls. You interact with women or men as targets, not beings. You lose nuance. You lose empathy. You lose presence. And most terrifying of all, you lose innocence. Not in a naive way, but in a human way. The capacity to feel slowly, deeply, authentically. It's replaced with urgency, with consumption. This isn't just your private struggle. It's a global epidemic. Millions are hooked. Millions are numbing themselves every night, silently. Men especially. But not only men. This affects everyone. And the worst part? It's normalized, celebrated even. Explore your desires. Be sex positive. But no one tells you the cost. No one shows you the wreckage behind the curtain. Depression, anxiety, erectile dysfunction, isolation, brain fog, burnout. And no, it's not just because of work or stress. It's because your brain is being fried daily by input it was never meant to handle. You think you're free, but real freedom is the ability to say no, not just to others, but to your own impulses. When was the last time you felt in control of your inner world? When was the last time your mind was quiet? That silence you long for, it doesn't come from more content, more excitement, more stimulation. It comes from subtraction, from pulling the plug on the noise, especially this noise. Because sexual compulsion is the most accepted prison. No one will arrest you, no one will stop you, but you're still trapped, and no one will free you, except you. You don't need to be perfect, you don't need to be pure, you need to be awake, to see the game, to name it, and to step out of it. Not every man is ready for that, not every woman either. But if you are, if something inside you is sick of this loop, then keep watching. Because we're about to talk about what happens when you finally reclaim your mind. When you begin to pull your mind out of this storm, something strange happens. First, panic. Your system screams. It wants the hit, the scroll, the fix. You feel restless, irritated, even angry. That's not weakness, that's withdrawal. The same kind addicts feel. Because your brain doesn't care whether the drug is in a syringe or on a screen. It only cares about the dopamine. And when you stop feeding it, the system shakes. That's when most people relapse, not because they're bad, but because they never understood what's actually happening. You're not resisting pleasure, you're facing pain. The pain of emptiness that was always there, just hidden under stimulation. But if you stay, if you breathe through the chaos, instead of escaping it, something shifts. Slowly, your nervous system begins to reset. You start noticing things you hadn't felt in years. The quiet beauty in simplicity, the texture of real moments, the taste of food, the sound of silence. You realize how numb you were and how awake you're becoming. Focus returns, memory sharpens, sleep improves, emotions, once flatlined, begin to come alive again. Not just lust, but joy, gratitude, anger, sadness. You feel again, fully. And in that feeling, life returns. This is the beginning of desexualizing the mind. Not by force, not by shame, but by awareness. You stop letting your biology run the show. You stop letting corporate algorithms decide your arousal. You reclaim your ability to choose, not just what you do, but who you are. Because here's what no one tells you. Your sexual energy is not evil. It's sacred. But only when it's yours. Not stolen, not sold, not manipulated by pixels, but integrated, honored, redirected. Men who stop feeding lust externally often experience a surge of internal energy. Not a theory, reality. Athletes, artists, monks, warriors, across cultures and centuries, they all knew it. Sexual energy, when contained, becomes power. The power to build, to lead, to create, to break patterns, to transcend. This is not spiritual fluff, it's biological fuel. And when it stops leaking out, it rises up into thought, into voice, into action. That's why you feel different after just a few days of no porn. It's not placebo, it's restoration. Your brain is rebooting. Your system is cleaning itself. But more than that, your identity is shifting. You no longer see yourself as a slave to urges. You become someone who chooses, who directs, who owns their life. And yes, it's uncomfortable, because without the distraction of lust, you're left with yourself, your pain, your memories, your unprocessed grief, your unmet needs. But here's the paradox. Facing that is the doorway to real peace. Not the fake peace of dopamine silence, but the real one, born from integration. You begin to understand. The goal was never to eliminate desire. The goal was to free it from distortion. So it could serve you, not control you. So it could fuel purpose, not fantasy. And once you taste that clarity, you won't want to go back. Because no illusion, no image, no fake connection can compare to the feeling of being fully alive. The moment you step out of the cycle, life stops being flat. You start seeing where your energy was leaking all along. You begin to feel this strange pressure inside, not anxiety, not restlessness, but something deeper. It's drive, hunger, a force that was always there, but buried under years of compulsive pleasure-seeking. This is the same energy that once fueled your addiction, but now it's raw power. And when you stop wasting it on endless scrolling, empty orgasms, or chasing digital shadows, it starts to transform into focus, into discipline, into action. That's when things change. That's when you build what you couldn't build before. Your mind gets sharper, not just clearer, but faster. Thoughts connect, ideas flow. You start finishing things instead of just starting. You get more done in less time. not because of some magical motivation trick, but because your system isn't constantly distracted anymore. That constant mental noise? Gone. Emotional reactivity? Lower. Emotional awareness? Higher. You actually hear yourself think. And for the first time in a long time, you trust your thinking. Your body shifts too. Your posture changes. You walk differently. You breathe deeper. You feel stronger, more present. You're no longer pulled by invisible threads. You become grounded, controlled. You're not just reacting to life anymore, you're directing it. And this isn't about becoming some perfect version of yourself. It's not about celibacy. It's not about moral superiority. It's about power. Power that returns when you stop bleeding it out through constant overstimulation. Some of the most driven, successful people on the planet knew this, not because they read it in a book, but because they experienced it. They practiced discipline not to impress anyone, but because they understood energy. Nikola Tesla, Muhammad Ali, Steve Jobs, David Goggins, different lives, same principle. Protect your energy, and you'll do things others only dream about. Waste your energy, and you'll stay stuck in cycles you hate. This doesn't mean you stop loving. It doesn't mean you stop connecting. It means you connect deeper, with clarity, with intention. You stop chasing bodies and start seeing souls. You stop needing approval and start offering presence. You stop consuming and start creating. That's the true shift. And the crazy part? Most people will never feel this. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They're too invested in comfort, in quick fixes, in numbing the pain instead of learning from it. But if you're here and you've made it this far, maybe you're not most people. Maybe a part of you is ready to stop chasing and start becoming. That's the point of desexualizing the mind. It's not about shutting anything down. It's about waking everything else up. The part of you that wants more. Not more pleasure, more purpose. Not more fantasy, but more reality. Not more escapes, but more truth. And once you feel that shift inside you, even just for a few days, you'll realize this is what you were missing. Not more stimulation, but more presence, more power, more life. Most people never make it past the withdrawal phase. They hit the wall, the craving, the anxiety, the boredom, and they give up, not because they're weak, but because they never had a map. They thought it was about resisting. It's not. It's about replacing. You can't just delete the habit and leave the space empty. The void will swallow you. You have to rebuild. Not by force, but with structure. That's where practical work begins. Cold, disciplined, necessary. This isn't about inspiration. This is about reprogramming your nervous system. Starting with your environment. Your phone is a weapon against your focus. Clean it. Detox your feed. Remove every source of cheap dopamine. No half measures, no negotiations. The mind respects clarity, not excuses. Start with the triggers. Identify them. Time of day, emotional states, isolation, boredom, rejection, stress. Know your patterns like a map, because when you see the pattern, you weaken its power. Keep a log. Write down every time the urge hits, not to shame yourself, but to track the cycle. Patterns lose control when they're exposed to light. Next, bring the body in. Most people stay in their heads, trying to think their way out of compulsion. It doesn't work. You have to reconnect with the body. Start moving. Lift, walk, stretch, breathe deeply. Every single day, the body holds tension. It stores pain. And pain is what keeps pulling you back into old loops. You're not just breaking a habit, you're clearing emotional residue. That requires action. Then comes stillness, not as a reward, but as a skill. You must learn how to sit with discomfort, the itch, the craving, the wave, and just breathe. Not act, not run, just stay. 10 minutes a day, eyes closed, no music, no phone, just you and your nervous system. That's the battlefield, and every day you sit through it, you get stronger. You begin to trust yourself again. You stop fearing discomfort, and that changes everything. Because the root of addiction isn't lust, it's avoidance. Avoidance of pain, of loneliness, of inner chaos. But when you stop running from it, it stops controlling you. Community matters too. You can't do this alone forever. You can start alone, but eventually you need mirrors. People who are also on the path, who speak the same language, who reflect your strength when you forget it. This is not about being saved. It's about being seen and being reminded of who you're becoming. That's why it's crucial to talk, to write, to share. Not publicly if you're not ready, but honestly, somewhere. Because silence is the oxygen of shame, and shame is what keeps you stuck. Last, set structure, routines, boundaries, not to restrict you, but to protect you. Your mind is rebuilding. It's vulnerable in this phase, so give it rhythm. Morning routine, night routine, time blocks, sleep, food, training. This is where discipline becomes healing. Not punishment, protection. You're not forcing yourself into a cage. You're building a temple, one choice at a time. And slowly, you'll notice you're not just staying away from porn. You're becoming someone who doesn't need it. Because you've built something better, something real, you. You start hearing stories, quiet ones, not shouted from stages or posted in highlight reels, but whispered between men who've gone through the fire. Stories of change, of clarity, of discipline, of rebuilding life from the ground up. A man who was stuck in porn for 15 years, now running his own business, building something with purpose. Another who couldn't hold eye contact with a woman without projecting lust, now in a real relationship for the first time. Present, open, clear. A father who used to feel shame every night, now spending that time talking to his son, reconnecting with something real. These stories aren't miracles. They're results from action, from doing the work, from not giving up when the craving hit, from not giving in to the voice that says, just one more time. Because the truth is, the benefits of desexualization aren't just internal. They manifest everywhere, in how you speak, how you stand, how you show up. People notice something different in you, a steadiness, a silence, a fire that's not chaotic anymore, but focused. You become trustworthy, not just to others, but to yourself. You say something and you follow through. You feel emotions, and you don't escape. You face conflict, and you don't collapse. That's real confidence, not fake bravado, not performance, but the calm that comes when you know you've faced your demons and survived. The mind you rebuild in this process becomes your ally. No longer an enemy filled with intrusive thoughts and urges, but a space of strategy, of clarity, of vision. You start seeing patterns in others too. You recognize when someone is stuck in their loop, and you feel compassion, not superiority, because you know what it's like. You've been there. Maybe you're still working through it, but you're no longer drowning. That's the difference. And it's not always easy. There are setbacks. You might relapse, you might fall into old habits, but the point isn't perfection, it's direction. You get up quicker, you understand the triggers better, you bounce back stronger, and every time you do, the old identity loses grip. The addict, the weak one, the distracted one. He begins to fade, and someone else takes his place, someone focused, someone stable, someone who doesn't need chaos to feel alive. You also begin to feel something you didn't expect: peace. Not the numb kind that comes from zoning out, but the real kind. The kind that settles in your bones, that lets you sit in silence without needing to run, that lets you look someone in the eyes without the filter of lust, that lets you be with yourself without the urge to escape. And from that peace, new desires are born, not compulsions. Desires, healthy, grounded ones, to create, to build, to serve, to love, not as a way to fill a void, but as an overflow, to experience intimacy that's rooted in truth, not fantasy. And for many, this is the most shocking part. You thought you'd be less alive without constant arousal, but you feel more alive than ever, because now you're finally here, present, clear, free. The world will try to drain you, not just sexually, entirely. Your focus, your spirit, your strength, your morality, your energy, all of it. It will flood you with noise, temptations, fear, shame, false comfort, until there's nothing left but a tired, distracted, compliant version of you. That's not by accident, that's design. Because a man with no power is easy to control. He doesn't think for himself. He doesn't resist. He doesn't rise. He obeys. But you are not here to obey. You are here to reclaim every part of you they tried to steal. If these words hit something real, subscribe to the channel. Algorithms will show it to others who are ready to wake up. Join the Telegram, where we go even deeper, even rawer. Share this video with someone who's drowning in silence. And if this was your breaking point, write in the comments, "I'm taking the mask off." Let's see how many of us refuse to live on our knees. This is only the beginning.